when you're older, when you've been through it, you're a shepherd of the culture that you've grown into. And it's maintaining that. It's not, here's what I have to say to them. It's like, here's how I'm going to show them the way to do it. And if we show them the right way, then for years after we're gone, things will be going really well here, you know?
Thank you, Jake, so much for joining me on D1-on-1 for our conversation that we've been waiting eagerly for the last 2 weeks. Is that how long it's been we've known each other? 2 weeks. And we met when you walked into Quiet Study randomly, and I was tutoring, and I was checking off your Google Calendar and semester calendar, and then suddenly we just started talking about your journey, your story, the podcast you're working on, just everything you're doing, and we just connected right away. But Jake Curhan, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
That's right. You play football at the University of California, Berkeley. Well, let me just step back.
Yeah.
Jake, could you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah. Well, I'm a student athlete here at the University of California, Berkeley. I'm from Marin County, which is just across the bay from where we are in Berkeley right now. It's just north of San Francisco, if you don't know the Bay Area too well. But yeah, I live about 30 minutes away from school here. I'm starting with this semester right now, or what month is it? February of 2020. I'm starting my first semester of my 5th year of college. So I've been here for 4 years.
Old man.
I feel that way. But as I'm sure we'll talk about, I'm on the football team. I redshirted my first year. That's kind of how I'm still around. But I like to think of myself as being more than just a football player, being more than on the football team. I take a lot of opportunities to try to expand myself, especially when we're at such a great place like here at Cal. For example, like I'll go to clubs. Like the first time I ever met you was at the Student Athlete Advisory Committee here at Cal.
Could you compare freshman year Jake to the Jake you are now?
Yeah, I can compare them. There's not a lot of similarities though.
What was freshman year Jake like?
Scared.
Scared.
I had a lot of anxiety around going from somewhere where the competition isn't great to Division I college. Like games are on TV. You have 60,000 plus people in the stands, you know, like college football is a huge phenomenon. And high school football for me was not something I felt like had prepared me. Not that I knew necessarily what college football entailed, but I didn't feel like I was necessarily going to be prepared. And I had a lot of anxiety my junior, senior year of high school around that, to a point where I was seeing a sports psychiatrist bi-weekly, I think, for a little bit. And I had an anxiety attack like right before my senior year of high school even started. And kind of when I get anxiety, I kind of just freeze. Like I don't do anything. Like I'll just sit on my bed, and then the next thing I know, I look at a clock and it's 1 a.m. And this would be in high school. Now when I look at things, you know, there's a lot of steps in between that got me to where I am now, but I have no fear of any of the things. And I haven't had issues with anxiety since probably my first year of being in college. So the main transformation for me is when my first semester when I showed up, I was like, I'm going to do well in school. I've always done well in school. I'm like, Cal Berkeley is the best public institution in the world, according to whatever they cite for that. I think it's U.S. News, but like it's a really good school, and that's a well-known thing. So I was like, I'm going to do well in school, and I'll figure out athletics and a social life later. And I remember, fast forward to August, my first fall training camp, We were getting my position unit, the offensive line, we were getting punished after practice. And it was probably a week in or so, and my coach has everyone keep doing the punishment, tells me to stop and stand there while everyone's in a circle around me doing whatever punishment he saw fit. He said, "Jake, I thought you were going to play this year, but you fucking suck." And everyone listening right now, I saw your facial reaction right there, Andrew. It's like, that's harsh. But the thing is, that was the most motivating thing I have ever heard in my life, because I didn't even realize I was in the conversation for having a chance to play that year. And that kind of started the whole process for me. But now it's like everything is kind of approached with that mindset. Back then it was only athletics, but it's like, why can't I do any of these things that I want to do if I think I can do them? That's the big difference. Is back then I was anxious, I was afraid. Now I'm not at all any of those things. I'm hungry to do more.
Wow, hungry. Like, how do you feel like where you are right now is placed and situated in what it will mean for you for the rest of your life? Like, what does this season and that moment on the grand scale look like?
Oh, it's huge. It's the foundation of everything, and I don't know what everything is yet.
This moment is the foundation of everything.
Yeah, where I am right now and what I do over the next year, or what even what I've done over the last 4 years.
Why is that?
Because, I'll talk to, we have networking with old football players sometimes who come back during the spring. I think it happens about 3 times every spring, and they tell you about what they're doing, and like the common theme you hear from everyone is, in the workplace environment, like, nobody is used to this competition that you and I face on a daily basis, right? No one has that competitive edge about them. They don't view it the same way. And I'm very confident in my ability to do whatever it is that I want to do, because I don't think there's a reason I shouldn't be able to. And a lot of people like to blame circumstance on things outside of themselves. And one of the biggest gifts that I think football has given me is accountability. And that's just like, well, if I want to do this, if I want to do X and I haven't, like, just honestly sitting back and reflecting on, why is it that I haven't? And more often than not, you'll find like it's because you just didn't, like, it's because you yourself didn't do something. It wasn't because someone was an asshole or they didn't like you or you weren't given the same opportunity as someone else. It's like a lot of people are waiting for things to be given to them. Speaking of given opportunities, and I think the difference in that edge is coming from going and getting opportunities, like going out and pursuing them rather than waiting for them to appear. Like believing that you have control over your life and a will to do something with it, whatever it is you want to do, but understanding that that's on you. It's your responsibility. It's not anybody else's responsibility to put you where you want to be.
How did you learn that? That concept of accountability, that concept of honesty.
I mean, it's preached everywhere, right? Like you'll hear, it's like a buzzword, right? Organizations, whether it's a sports team or a company, like it's all about accountability, and everyone says it, but I don't know how many people actually mean it or know what it means. Like it's easy to know a definition. Well, on paper, it's easy to understand a definition, but in practice, like something doesn't go your way, are you going to go complain about it? And I keep going to complaints, but are you going to complain about it or blame it on something else? Or even like, if I show up late to a workout, right? Like, I'm not going to be like, Mike, even if this is true, my car didn't start, or I got to like whatever excuse you could have doesn't matter. And I don't think people realize like it doesn't matter. The reason why doesn't matter. The result is kind of what matters. And I mean, just being able to sit there and say, yeah, that's on me. I screwed up.
Hearing this is so inspiring to me because this is such clear and incredible and passionate leadership where you're genuinely, like, even when you don't want to do something, you're doing it when no one's watching, and you call someone out or you hold one of your teammates accountable. Before I ask you about leadership and what leadership means to you, can you talk a little bit about team, what team means to you?
Yeah, and I also, before I even answer that, I want to say that just because I'm talking like this, that doesn't mean I haven't mastered any of this stuff, right? I try to do what I'm talking about. I try to do what I'm talking about, and I know what it's supposed to look like.
That's why you're so incredible, man.
And I have examples of when I do it the right way, but there's also times, like I could point out times in the past week where, you know, I've told myself I was going to do something at a certain time, and, you know, just for whatever reason, I'm tired or laziness, whatever it is, like, don't get it done. And that's not, I mean, like I said, it's striving for something.
I would love to shift over to team and leadership because
Sure.
the few interactions I've had with you and I've had with your teammates have quickly shown me that you guys are some of the most incredible people I've ever met. And it's so inspiring to me.
Appreciate that.
And I absolutely cannot wait to see the results and reflection of your team and each incredible individual come together in the form of wins and losses, hopefully more wins than losses, next football season. But what does leadership mean to you?
Leadership's interesting because a lot of people think that leadership is vocal or visible, but I don't think it always is. For me, when I'm trying to lead, I'm not the guy who's always going to be able to give you a hype up speech or like whatever that is. That's not who I am. And I think leadership, it's important to know who you are as a leader. And sometimes, like, just before I even get into myself as a leader, like, a lot of people don't realize the best way to lead can be to follow. And that results itself in, like, essentially, how do I follow well to support the person that's leading, and how do I help other people follow along in the same way? And that's kind of the concept of, you know, being able to lead from the front or behind, and that's obviously behind. But yeah, and I think I learned how to do that really well on the football team because there was a time where I was redshirting in all the developmental programs, and I was a freshman, and it's like, I don't really know what's going on. I'm not in a position to really have much of a voice in front of the team. But now I've started the last 38 games. Like, I've barely missed any snaps. I was a captain of the team this last year. Like,
So incredible.
I have a platform to say something if I want to say something. But I think it's important that just because I have that platform doesn't mean I'm always standing on that platform. Because there's plenty of other people who are capable of leading and do it in a much different way than I do. Like I said, when I think something needs to be said, I'm going to say something. But otherwise, I'm not the loudest as a leader. What I do is, like, if you get someone screwing up in a workout or on a drill, like, people are quick to be like, come on, whoever, like, just do it right. It's like, well, that doesn't, you know what I mean? But, like, people will be quick to jump on top of somebody or really get after them for doing something wrong. And, like, sometimes, yeah, everyone feels that way, that frustration, especially if it results in punishment. But it's not usually the most effective way to get things done. So where I find myself more often than not is just, like, after people are done yelling at whoever for whatever, it's like, just go over to that person for 30 seconds. Be like, hey, man, like, no one's personally trying to get on you. Like, this is a team where we're all leading towards a specific goal, right? But here's what I think that you really need to take away from this, whether it's like ignore these people, like keep doing you and that'll work out, or if it's like, this is what these people are trying to say, even though it doesn't sound like this. Like, being that translator, someone that people can trust to give them honest and helpful feedback of the situation.
What are the traits that you admire and value the most in what you perceive to be the best leaders?
Back to the accountability stuff we were talking about, the ability to call people out. Like, it doesn't matter who they are, but like, and in a way that's not like, in a way that isn't like threatening per se. Like, just the ability to be like, hey man, like, you're not doing this right, or you're not living right in this way, and we need more from you. And it's a really hard thing to do, especially when you have to do it with someone else who is a well-respected individual. Like, everyone can jump on the guy that screws up every day, right?
Mm-hmm.
But to call out the person who in many situations is a model leader, like, that's not easy. But that's what separates the people who are really good at leading from the people who aren't as good. The other thing I really admire, and I'm going to shout out a couple of my teammates right now, Cam Bynum and Elijah Hicks, right? These are two of our cornerbacks. Yeah. And these guys, I think, are incredible leaders in ways that's like, when we're talking about the discipline, the hard work, doing things when no one's looking, like, their ability to string people along with them to do this stuff, because both those guys are hardwired where they're gonna do that stuff no matter what. Whether anyone shows up with them or not, they're gonna do it. But where I admire them so much is their ability to string other people along who you wouldn't really normally think would like go out and do extra work, are now doing it because of the leadership of these two guys.
Wow.
So that's the other trait. It's just the ability to bring people where you're going, which is essentially what leadership is, but it's a very difficult thing to do. And those are just two guys that come to mind when I think of people who have a really innate ability to do that.
When you reflect on the past season, was there any past season, is there a moment where that leadership, either from yourself or other people, really came to fruition and had a powerful impact on the trajectory of the team?
When you're older, when you've been through it, you're a shepherd of the culture that you've grown into. And it's maintaining that. It's not, here's what I have to say to them. It's like, here's how I'm going to show them the way to do it. And if we show them the right way, then for years after we're gone, things will be going really well here, you know?
So the program's more important than any individual person, than any individual season.
It's not even a question.
Any individual, like the concept of, like, can you describe that esoteric concept of the program?
Well, it's like the idea, it's like nobody's sacred is the way that our head coach says it all the time. No one's sacred. We've had lots of people transfer or be kicked off the team or had to leave for whatever the reason is, but like, because they didn't fit the mold of the culture we wanted to build. Whether or not that person was a better football player than the other people that were at their positions is irrelevant. It's like, if you're not willing to do things the way that we're going to do it here, then we're not willing to let you do it. Like, we're not willing to let you do it that way. It's not about you. No one's sacred. Nobody's like, and when everyone understands that, it's like nobody's above the team. And when no one's above the team and the team comes first, like, the best things are going to happen.
I can't stop thinking about my team going through this, because we got a new coach at the end of the fall. And I'm watching our team go through an enormous culture shift, but knowing that essentially your team has experienced that like years ago, and now everything you're describing is the culmination of doing that, maintaining that standard of excellence, that standard of discipline, that standard of accountability, that standard of love for years. And, nothing great is built quickly. Like, it's built in a process of years, decades.
I remember when Clemson first won a national championship with Dabo Swinney as their head coach. And I don't remember which player was talking, but he's on the mic and he's basically saying this national championship isn't just for this team. This is for, and he starts rattling off a list of like probably 5 to 10 names, guys who were on the team for the previous 2 to 3 years. It's like, these are the people that made this current team. And it's powerful and it's true, because that's like, it carries on and it carries through and you can see it. I mean, I've been here long enough to see the way that like people can impact each other, or people can impact a culture, and how that sticks. And like, I'm in the process of watching it right now, because I was just talking about Cam and Elijah are both going to be seniors this year.
Yeah.
That DB room has been so spectacular over the last couple of years. And I'm watching one of the young guys is doing what I did 4 years ago. He's technically a second semester senior right now, right? I see him every day working with them, doing the same like ethic. And I'm like, I know in 4 years from now, he's going to be the same guy, personality wise, whatever, but like he's going to be in the same role that these two guys are in right now. It's like, you see that it's cyclical and it sticks. And that's like why you have people like Clemson, or why you have teams like Clemson saying like, these are the guys that built this national championship team. Well, they probably didn't know two or a whole cast of guys that made that team win, but the culture that they built impacted those guys.
I don't know what it would feel like, but I know, I definitely know that when they won, the people that weren't on the team felt just as joyous as the people that were on the field playing, and just as proud, if not more so. And even though they didn't contribute in that game a single snap, the contributions that were invested and made years before that still matter.
Absolutely.
And it's weird being like a transfer from a different school and like still competing and racing, because I'm like, I got my old brothers, my teammates, and everything they do and achieve now. Like this past weekend, a bunch of them ran like 4:04 to 4 flat miles, and they're like on the cusp of running sub 4. Like 4 guys are on the cusp of running a sub 4 mile for the first time. And I didn't take a single step in their race, but I feel proud that they're doing that. And maybe I don't even know what I'm trying to articulate, but it's like, that's what makes sport so special.
Yeah, it's the connection.
And it's not even, it's less about, whether they do it or not. It's like the relationship with them inspires me, like, so I'm so excited for what you guys do this year, man. Like,
me too, man. But like I said, not getting ahead of ourselves.
How does it feel talking about all this? Like, where are you at right now? How did you like this conversation? Like, what has this conversation meant to you, and how's it been?
Well, I love it, because I've learned so much over the last 4 years that other people don't have the opportunity to learn. In terms of being a part of an organization like a football team at such a high level, and understanding like what makes these teams good and what makes them bad. And I think those are lessons that apply to, sport. Like anything else, it's an organization, because that's the word I just used, organization. A company is an organization, right? Like a nonprofit, that's an organization. And
a group of people trying to do something,
a group of people achieving a common goal, which is what everyone's going to be doing for the rest of their life. And like, I feel like I have such a strong insight into what makes these things move and what makes them stay where they are or go in the wrong direction. And it's not easy. None of the stuff's easy, but like, I love being able to share that knowledge and being able to share where I've come and where I like where I am and where I've been and like what the difference between that is. And it's like I want the same for other people to be able to like recognize and understand the potential that they have, because life is like, I mean, it's a lot better when you think you can do everything than when you're sitting, and back to what we were talking about, you're sitting and waiting for things to come to you. It's like go get shit. You know? That's, if I could sum it up, there it is.
Go get shit.
Yeah.
I love it. Man, I was going to ask, like, what kind of impact do you want people to what kind of impact do you want this conversation to have on people? But you just said it right there. It's to inspire them that they can achieve the goals they set out for themselves.
I mean, you and I have had not that many conversations, right?
Yeah.
But every time I leave a conversation with you, like, I'm inspired to go work more on whatever it is that I feel like I should be doing or that I've been putting off.
Wow.
And
thank you.
Yeah. I mean,
that means a lot.
You've told me the same, right? And like, there's certain people like that. And the more people I can have, or the more people in the world where you can talk to them and like want to go achieve something, like that sounds socially optimal to me. So,
man, thank you so much for this, man.
Yeah,
really appreciate it.